Some builds make you feel strong, but every once in a while, Destiny gives you a build that feels like controlled chaos, where the screen is constantly lit up with lightning, turrets are firing on your behalf, abilities never seem to go on cooldown, and you're just sprinting from fight to fight while everything around you explodes. This Prismatic Warlock setup is exactly that kind of build, because once it gets rolling, you're permanently amplified. Your Arc Soul is doing work non-stop, your grenades and abilities are chaining together effortlessly, and your weapons are constantly feeding the loop without you having to slow down or play defensive. Welcome to Insightful Gaming, and today we're putting together a Prismatic Warlock build that leans fully into arc energy, ability spam, and amplified gameplay, creating a fast, aggressive playstyle that feels smooth in low-end content and still holds its own when things get chaotic. And if you want to run this build with me, make sure to join the Discord linked in the description. Come play some activities, and feel free to join my clan if you're looking for a group. Now let's break down how this setup works and why Getaway Artist turns Prismatic Warlock into an absolute lightning factory. For our exotic armor, we're using Getaway Artist, and this is what turns the entire Prismatic Warlock setup into a non-stop arc engine, because its Dynamic Duo perk lets you convert your arc grenade into an Arc Soul, while immediately making you amplified, which means you're getting an autonomous arc turret that fires constantly while also unlocking all the amplified bonuses across your kit. Once the Arc Soul is active, it tracks enemies on its own, applies steady pressure without you needing to aim, and synergizes perfectly with a playstyle where you're sprinting, sliding, and rotating abilities instead of standing still. Being amplified is a massive part of this build because it directly improves weapon handling and reload through our perk choices, increases ability flow, and keeps your momentum high at all times. So instead of throwing grenades for single moments of damage, you're trading them for permanent uptime and passive DPS. Getaway Artist doesn't just add damage, it removes downtime entirely, letting your Arc Soul handle background pressure while you focus on chaining abilities, weapon kills, and movement, which is exactly why this exotic feels so good on Prismatic Warlock. For our weapons, we're leaning even harder into bolt charge generation and turret-style pressure, starting with Horror's Least as our primary because it fits this Prismatic Arc heavy setup perfectly, thanks to Trickle Charge, which partially reloads an improved portion of the magazine from reserves whenever you gain or spend bolt charge, keeping your uptime incredibly high during extended fights. On top of that, Rolling Storm ties everything together by granting bolt charge on final blows and even more bolt charge while you're amplified, which means as long as you're playing aggressively and staying amplified through Getaway Artist, this weapon is constantly feeding itself and your entire ability loop. For our special weapon, we're using the new Permafrost Grenade Launcher, a stasis waveframe that brings incredible control and synergy to the build, with Blast Distributor giving you a strong bonus to grenade stat whenever you deal splash damage, directly lowering your storm grenade cooldown, and Crystallized Corpse Bloom spawning large stasis crystals on rapid final blows, giving you free area denial, cover, more darkness energy. And for our heavy weapon, we're using Finality's Augur, mainly for its turret functionality, letting you deploy another autonomous damage source that keeps firing while you move, reposition, and chain abilities. With bolt charge constantly flowing, grenades coming back faster, stasis crystals controlling space, and multiple turrets active at once, this weapon setup ensures you're always dealing damage even when you're not actively shooting. For our subclass, we're running Prismatic Warlock, and the entire setup is built to keep elemental buffs active at all times, so our abilities, turrets, and weapons are constantly feeding each other, starting with Song of Flame as our super, because it massively boosts ability regeneration, empowers your damage, and keeps the entire build firing on all cylinders during high-pressure moments. Our class ability is Healing Rift, which keeps us alive during aggressive pushes and also works perfectly with Hellion to add passive solar damage while we fight. Our melee is Arcane Needle, giving us a fast, ranged melee option that helps trigger Facet of Dawn for radiant uptime and contributes to our light and darkness energy generation through Facet of Balance. Our grenade of choice is Storm Grenade, which applies consistent arc damage over time, synergizes perfectly with being amplified from Getaway Artist, and helps trigger Facet of Courage for bonus Darkness Transcendence energy on ability final blows. For our aspects, we're using Hellion and Bleak Watcher, where Hellion turns your rift into a solar mortar that scorches enemies automatically, and Bleak Watcher gives you a stasis turret for strong crowd control, allowing you to stack multiple autonomous damage sources alongside your Arc Soul and Finality's Augur turret. For fragments, we're using Facet of Dawn, so powered melee hits and final blows make you and nearby allies radiant. Facet of Hope to significantly speed up class ability regeneration while any elemental buff is active. Facet of Balance to feed melee energy from light kills and grenade energy from darkness kills. And Facet of Courage so ability final blows while you have Arc, Solar or Void buffs grant bonus Darkness Transcendence energy. For your stats in this build, you want to prioritize weapon stat first and push it to 100 as early as possible because it directly improves handling, reload speed, and overall weapon effectiveness. Then focus on grenade stat to 100 so your storm grenades and Bleak Watcher uptime stay consistent, and finally bring your class ability stat to 100 so Healing Rift is always available to trigger Hellion and keep your elemental buffs rolling. Once all three hit 100, continue stacking weapon stat toward 200 to maximize damage output and keep the build feeling fast, aggressive, and always active. For our armor mods, starting with the helmet, we are using Heavy Ammo Finder to keep your exotic heavy turret ready, Dynamo for more super energy, and Harmonic Siphon to generate orbs from rapid arc weapon kills. On the gauntlets, we're using Grenade Kickstart to refund grenade energy immediately after throwing Storm Grenade, Focusing Strike for more ability energy, and Impact Induction to give you grenade energy back when Arcane Needle hits, tying your melee and grenade loops together. On the chest piece, we go with activity-based resist mods to stay alive while playing aggressively. On the boots, we run Innovation to gain grenade energy from orbs, Recuperation for instant health on orb pickup, which stacks beautifully with Healing Rift, and Stacks on Stacks to double your armor charge gains and extend your ability economy. Finally, on the Warlock Bond, we use Bomber to reduce grenade cooldown whenever you drop a Rift, Outreach to help refill melee energy on Rift use, and Reaper so your next weapon kill after placing Rift creates an orb of power, ensuring your entire engine of turrets, buffs, and abilities never slows down. For seasonal mods, we're focusing strictly on perks that amplify arc damage and bolt charge generation to support our amplified turret-heavy playstyle, starting in the fourth column with D-Electric, which grants bolt charge when you defeat arc debuffed targets, something this build does constantly through Arc Souls, Storm Grenades, Arc Weapons, and amplified damage. And in the final column, we take Elemental Orbs for Arc, which gives Arc Weapon final blows a chance to spawn Arc Elemental Orbs, feeding additional energy and armor charge back into the build so your grenade, rift, and ability loops stay fully online. This Prismatic Warlock build turns you into a walking storm of autonomous damage with Arc Souls firing non-stop, turrets controlling the field, and abilities cycling so fast that you're always amplified and always in control of every fight. If you want to run this build with me, join the Discord in the description, come play some activities, and feel free to join my clan if you're looking for a team. Thanks for watching Insightful Gaming, and I'll see you in the next one.